Take me back to Giza, so I can hold the earth still when I research the reason of the purpose of the hurt. With a data word, damn. This is the last will and testament. No matter what happens to me, my words are still relevant, soul still evident.
Hey, what's up? This is Dr. C back with another video. A common question I get is, why is dentistry so expensive? I totally get it. It's a big issue. I stand by that dentistry is a valuable service. Your oral health is directly tied to your overall quality of life, and I'm proud of my ability to help you with that. However, even in first world countries like Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, dentistry could be unaffordable to a large segment of the population. I'm Canadian. I find it disturbing that a standard root canal treatment and crown will put roughly half of you under financial duress. If you can't afford standard of care treatment, you are not alone. The numbers show that you're becoming the norm rather than the exception. How did that happen? On the clinician side of the story, and myself as a potential buyer of my first dental practice, I've seen prices skyrocket over the past decade. If I were to take out a loan to buy into a clinic now, the cost to service that debt would be astronomical. The burden to pay off such a large loan would take me away from my goal of running a patient-centered practice. I'd have to think, to stay afloat, what corners would I have to cut when ordering equipment and supplies? How do I reduce my staff's wages, benefits, and work hours? These compromises I don't want to make to stay profitable will ultimately come at the detriment of my patients. I chose not to have one, for now, because I don't like playing clinician on tilt. How did that happen? And then there's the dental staff, caught in the crossfire. The veterans have seen decreases of wages, loss of regular employment, disappearance of benefits and paid vacations, etc. Some fresh blood coming in have only seen part-time contractual agreements and overworked and dissatisfactory working conditions. 9 to 9 with no break and no lunch? Yeah. And if you work for corporate dental, production quotas are increasingly commonplace. That isn't good for anyone but shareholders. But how did we get here? As a dental practitioner whose primary goal is to optimize the well-being of all patients, I have insights to share and concerns for the future of dentistry. This topic wasn't an easy thing for me to understand. I spent the last 5 years investigating markets and how money worked to get some understanding of the bigger picture. That being said, the reason why dentistry became expensive is that it has become more profitable to speculate on dentistry than it is to produce the actual dental work. That's a shocker for me. I came to that conclusion when I discovered that a lot more money was flowing into dentistry through the securities market rather than within the dental practice. Okay, there's a lot to unpack, so let's start with the dental practice. Many dental clinics in major cities are pushing operational overheads of 65 to 75%. That's a major increase from a couple of decades ago. Associates, who contract their labor to practice owners, take around 40% commission of the work they do. Owners of multiple practices don't make a lot of money off having associates produce dental work. Net profit comes from hygiene and from their own work. The name of the game nowadays is to grow a patient base then sell the files for profit. Short-term churning, that sucks. More on that later. In North American dentistry, 3 dental supply companies, Benco, Henry Schein, and Patterson, run the show. They control 85% of all sales of dental products and services. They're also named in a FTC lawsuit about colluding to price fix the dental market. 1,000% markups for resins, implant components costing $450 while they cost dollars to produce, yada yada yada. That's old news. As bad as that sounds, you'd be surprised to hear that equipment and supplies account for only 5 to 10% of overhead costs. That alone doesn't account for the high cost of dentistry. I spoke about selling patient files. Patients have in fact become the most valuable commodity being traded in the dental industry. I've spent many long nights looking through clinic appraisals from big players like ROI and Tier 3 to small independent appraisers. These appraisers pretty much set the market price for dental clinics. In most appraisals, the goodwill price, which represents the patient files owned by a clinic, is the largest asset on the balance sheet. Example, for a clinic selling at $700,000 with 600 patients, the goodwill evaluation will be close to $400,000. It works out to around $670 per patient. Part of the buying process is that I do my due diligence and check out the patient files before buying. I found that it was common to find the same patients being counted multiple times across different clinics, that some patients who haven't been to the clinic in several years were counted, and family members of active patients who did not receive any treatment were also thrown in. Sometimes, the leasehold improvements and equipment were listed over what it would have costed to buy new. My accountants assured me that this was standard within the industry. After all, value is subjective. The bankers were willing to provide me with 100% finance loans to acquire any clinic I was looking at. When I brought up my concerns about the sketchy valuations on the balance sheets, they would say that I can make it up by doing more crowns and root canals. Buddy, that's not how it works. You can't just make up unnecessary treatment. He assured me that I'll be fine as long as I expand my treatment range. Alright, so practice valuations have been jacked up by subjective goodwill pricing, and the banks are willing to lend out full credit on questionable valuations. Practice valuations can be measured in multiples of EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Over the past decade, I've witnessed practices go for 2 or 3 times EBITDA in 2008, climb to 4 to 6 times in 2014, to as high as 7 to 9 times today. In some places in the States, I've seen as high as 11.5 to 13 times. I had to ask, who's buying at those prices? Easy lending of credit is one piece of the puzzle, but the most mind-blowing thing is that most of the new money coming in is from the securities markets. What do I mean? Good question. The new money pumping dental appraisals comes from large dental corporations, or DSOs, like Heartland Dental, Aspen Dental, 123, Ultima, Dental Corp, Great Expressions, and so on. Okay, so how do DSOs operate? Dentists would sell their clinic assets to DSOs. DSOs would mask the sale through a nominee dentist, usually a professional corporation acting as a subsidiary of a DSO. The DSO offers a mix of cash and private stock for the takeover, and here's where it gets interesting. A significant chunk of the money DSOs use to acquire dental clinics come from private stocks that they issue themselves. The SEC has no regulatory oversight over privately traded stocks, and as a result, the reporting requirements are more relaxed compared to publicly traded companies. Who's pumping these private stocks? Many smaller private equity firms and a lot of big players. Let's go through a few examples. Leonard Green & Partners owns a large position in Aspen Dental, in the order of hundreds of millions. OMERS Private Equity has a big position in Great Expressions, also worth hundreds of millions. Dental Corp, this year, completed close to $1 billion of debt financing with CIBC and TD. Ontario again. OTPP dropped around $2 billion on Heartland Dental in 2012. Then KKR, a global investment firm, bought Heartland out from OTPP in 2018 at 126% higher than what OTPP paid. What is it then? Are these hot investments? Hell nah. This is not investment advice, but Moody's rated Aspen's CFR at B2. Heartland was even lower at B3. That's junk loan territory. These DSOs are highly leveraged. But yet, they're absorbing the dental industry through balance sheet tricks. Take a moment and think about the coercive nature of the takeover. Public workers, who are funded in large by deficit spending, have to contribute to mandatory pension funds managed by private equity firms to fund massive war chests to buy up the entire dental industry. What the hell, bro? Mogawa? Okay, this is important. Dental patients. When practice valuations go up, you are paying a high price in the form of production quotas. Revenue targets need to be met to fluff up balance sheets for shareholders. There's already precedence for dental corporations, not dentists, calling the shots on making treatment decisions. $450,000 fine and business goes on like usual. That's not in your best interests when it comes to seeking unbiased, patient-focused dental care. Profit-focused care is becoming the norm. Anecdotally, I've been reprimanded by practice managers many times in my career for not being more aggressive in treatment. Fuck it. If it's not a cavity, I'm not drilling that shit. I'm not going to compromise my ethics for your quotas. If you go to mom and pop shops, you're paying the price of reduced quality of care because the small guys inevitably have to cut corners to stay profitable. No one runs a business that loses money. Dentist, you're giving up the autonomy you had in the profession. When these corporations get big enough, they'll start calling the shots on the regulatory side. You can't compete with their source of money. They've exploited the mechanics of securities and derivatives at the expense of public debt, which flows fast, unlike the backbreaking labor you produce with your 2 hands. They'll pour money into advertising, regulatory influence, and they'll benefit from economies of scale. Eventually, we'll get the Shoppers, CVS, and Costco of dentistry. Monopolization is the end result, and the tool of choice to get there is centrally controlled debt outside of your control. Lord Acton had it right. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Make no mistake, this is not a free market. It's a coercive kleptocracy facilitated by central banking. It's a sick game, played against my profession, the patients, pension plan holders, and the integrity of the economy as a whole. Whatever. They can play Team Empire and I'll play Team Rebellion. I just think the technological pieces are in place to circumvent their influence. More on that in my next video. Thanks for watching all the way through. Let's build solutions. Check out my video on why the separation of money and state is part of the solution. Please subscribe and peace out.
Nevermore said the raven goodbye to innocence. innocence. Since he ate the bitter fruit, after garden buy a suit. Till the brown into your sweater, make another till he's dead. Years later, here is me, another hurting human being. Wonder why the serpent took the time just to ruin dreams. Had it good, will we ever make it back to better weather? Never more, I said the raven, nothing else is to